There are dire warnings that New South Wales will be hit by increasingly extreme weather.
2015 was the hottest year since climate records began.
Figures show this July was the single hottest month in recorded history.
Australia sweltered through its hottest spring on record.
Climate change is now affecting every country on every continent.
It's the rate that's of great concern.
And what do you put that rate down to?
Oh, it's human activity.
We have everything we need. Some still doubt that we have the will to act, but I say the will to act is itself a renewable resource.
Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Climactic, your story on climate change. Today we're bringing you the second half of last week's episode, an interview with Damien Cole, independent candidate in the Victorian state election for the South Barwon seat. This is an interview Maxine Baisley, the newest contributor to the Climactic Network, brought us. We're so excited to be hosting stories now from the greater Geelong area, and in this interview we get a lot more into the passion Damien has for his local environment. So without further ado, we'll get right into it.
And the bigger thing with what we're trying to accomplish is the Fight for the Bite campaign, which has been started up over in South Australia. They've been hitting all the different councils and they've been getting them to pass a motion which opposes the drilling in the Bite. And that's essentially what we're trying to do here. We're trying to motion for the Surf Coast Shire to oppose it. And also, I kind of jumped in and I said, listen, this has to be bigger than just the Surf Coast Shire. I think that we push this into the Geelong area, we push this into Melbourne, we push it across to Phillip Island. We really need to have, even though it's a federal...
It'll affect New South Wales as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll probably creep. It could creep right up, depending on the timing.
I did see that map, the modelling kind of veered up there as well.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the time of year as well. As the currents are all a little bit different, but
it's worth you guys getting involved as well.
Yeah, well, definitely. And this is the thing. Even if this airs after our rally, it's only one rally, and what I'm kind of pushing for is just, if you're in Melbourne or whatever, like get your own rally going, because this is not just a federal issue. It's not just a South Australian issue. This is a moral issue as a human being. Like that, this cannot happen anymore. We're in 2018. We should be pushing renewable energy. The fact that we're even thinking about this is just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
And particularly with the fact that the impacts that this is going to have to our environment is just mind blowing. If an oil spill happens, it pretty much wipes out the whole Great Australian Bight, the whole of Tasmania, the whole of Victoria. I'm pretty much describing the forecast modelling.
The marine life and also...
And tourism industry and just the whole lot. And there's so many areas there when you think about the Gulf of Mexico, where it's relatively easily accessible, shallow waters, the oceans aren't, the seas aren't as high. Here we're talking 100-foot sheer cliffs. We're talking a lot of isolated areas. There's just the amount of marine life that we've got in this area is just, it's amazing, like it's a breeding ground for southern right whales. Yeah. So just everything's pointing to you guys are absolutely mad. But this, as I said, it doesn't stop at the South Australian border. It's not just a federal issue. I will be bringing it up personally as a candidate, putting it to our, the other candidates and just saying, well, what is your stance on this? Because it does affect Victoria, and it does affect, our council. The oil would probably go into Port Phillip Bay as well, where we've got a lot of endemic species and things like that as well. So it really affects everyone. It affects anyone who's ever stepped foot on the beach.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever swam in their lives, this affects you. So by this stage, if you're not off yet, get out there, get informed and get off.
Have your own rally.
Yeah, get your own rally going and really motion for your council, because it's just, even though as I say, it's a federal issue, if it's a grassroots movement, which we have every single council across the southeast border, the southeast area of Australia, if we have every single one of them motioning against it and we make enough noise, they're going to have to stop. So that's what we're asking for. It's a call out, it's a call out to anyone who gives a shit about our future. This is me getting a little bit passionate.
It's a bit passionate. Yeah.
Enough's enough. Let's stand up for our own communities and our own backyard and the future for these future generations. We've got to leave a legacy that we can be proud of.
And that seems to be
your number one reason for standing up as a candidate as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Is the, I guess, lack of faith in the system and the lack of faith in the people that are making decisions to make the right ones for us and for our community and for our future.
Absolutely, and that's rightfully so. And that is, I'm one of those people. As I said, for me, this is not about career. This is not about money. This is not about anything. This is about looking after ourselves and each other and our community and our natural environment. This is important because if we're running out of time right now, we're coming to a point where we really have to get going and do something really to stop all of this.
To turn it around. Yeah. So you said that there's another forum happening. Is that the next thing? That's in November?
At this point, we've got the November 7th, I think it is, the Greater Torquay Alliance are going to be running a candidate forum for the South Barwon candidates.
And who will be there?
Well, we're going to invite every candidate there, so that's
hopefully everyone.
Yeah, so that's after the cutoff for the actual.
Yes, the declaration of running.
Yeah, so to actually officially nominate, and that's after the nominations shut, and that will give you a really good kind of idea of who is running in your local area. And I really encourage you to come down and kind of ask whatever question that you think is an issue to you. And I know I'll be kind of answering everything I can and absolutely 100% honestly. Whether or not it upsets the other candidates, great. I couldn't care less, It's
And that's interesting, though, because you've noticed that a few of their policies are kind of reflective of what actually the community seem to want. However, it's about holding them to account.
Well, that's exactly it. And that's part of the game that they've been playing is,
it's always the game they play, isn't it?
How many promises have you seen where it flips and it goes across and then they change it and, there was some wording in there and this is what we actually meant. And that's a big part of what I'm standing for. Not even if I get elected as a candidate right now, I'm holding them to the promises that they do make. And we've had the Labor candidate, Darren Cheeseman, saying that he wants to protect the Spring Valley. And that's great. But what do you mean by protect? Is that rolling back the town boundary so that it gets put back into rural landscape? Or, does it mean lower density housing? Or, we have to kind of ask those questions that, it's nice that you say you want to protect, but what do you actually mean? So it's holding them accountable to all of these things. And I think that that's something as well that's been missing. Any other industry in the world, if you had a CEO saying, I'm going to make these promises if I get elected as a CEO or voted in as CEO or get the job, and then you don't deliver, you get fired. Whereas for some reason, politicians can just kind of say what they want. And then once they get in, they change it all completely around. And then everyone goes, well, that's a shame. And off they go, business as usual.
Yeah.
Which business as usual is slowly destroying our communities and our social well-being. And
so what are the other issues? And of course, climate change being the underpinning issue of all of your policy drivers.
Yep.
What are the other things that are affecting this area that you're hoping to stand up on?
Definitely the overdevelopment.
Yeah.
And by that I mean just the amount of housing estates getting put in. It just feels like there's just every time you kind of look one way, there's a whole new estate coming in. And
what about the type of development? It's not quality, is it?
No, and this is the thing, is that it's the developers trying to push as many people into one area as possible by making the blocks a lot smaller, running on the fact that it's more affordable housing, which is not right at all. It's actually
more affordable housing. You'll have to heat,
a
lot harder because it's not airtight.
No, well, that's it. And you're living on smaller blocks. And and the thing is that the argument that it's a supply and demand thing, and that by adding more housing in an area, it will decrease house prices is actually factually incorrect. We know that. Yeah. Armstrong Creek's a great example where I think it's something like the block prices have gone up 40% in the last 12 months, even though they keep releasing new blocks. I'm pretty sure of that. That's actually what Mr. Andrew Katos said to me at a meeting the other night. And I was kind of blown away. I was like, wow, 40%. So that kind of nips that in the bud and goes, all right, well, no, it's not a supply and demand issue.
No, it's a money-making
exercise.
Yeah.
And on top, so that's where the social well-being and the cultural identity of our areas is really being affected.
How has it changed since when you grew up or when you returned to Torquay to now?
Well, the population's probably over doubled. I would say I'd say there's probably, a bit, let's say doubled in size. And what that's done is, first of all, there's a lot more traffic lights.
Yeah.
But I found that it's taken away that kind of coastal charm where you say hello to people down the street. It's a little bit it's like when you see it, on public transport in Melbourne. If you sit down and start chatting to the guy next to you, it's a little bit like, whoa, what are you doing?
What kind of crazy person is this?
And that's fair enough. It's a city of 5 million people. Everyone's doing their own thing. But down here, it's become a little bit less community-minded and a little bit more individual, even though there's some amazing people who have moved down here. I've met
still coming, yeah.
And still coming. And this is the thing, and I want to kind of make it clear that this is by no means trying to stop development. It's trying to ensure that the development that we put into place is done sustainably so that we do retain our cultural identity, our social well-being, and our environment. Because if you keep, at this point, it's all about, let's say, it's about carrying capacity. That's the thing. We don't know. We've done no studies or no assessments as to what the carrying capacity of Torquay is. So if they keep just putting more and more people into Torquay, and then all the developers go, all right, well, that's done. And then all of a sudden we're at breaking point because there's no car parks. There's just people everywhere. It hasn't been managed properly. No transport. So it's this real domino effect. So it's about having a bit of sensible planning and taking a step back, taking a breath and going, all right, how is this going to look in 20 years? And are we going to be proud of the way that we dealt with this town? And at the moment, the way it's going is it's a more of a reactive approach where things are just, we're building things. Oh, we've found a problem. Okay, we've got to try and patch that up. Yeah. So that's one of the big issues is, and going onto that is where is everyone going to work? So we've got in the greater Geelong area, we've got 3 separate developments, one in the north of Geelong, one in the west of Geelong.
That's Armstrong Creek.
So Armstrong Creek's in the south.
Spring Creek.
No, so in the Geelong. So we've got Armstrong Creek, which this is talking in the greater city of Geelong.
Yes, yeah.
So we've got Armstrong Creek, which I think they're looking at around 65,000 people. And then we've got the other two. I always get the two mixed up. No. So Warralili's part of Armstrong Creek. Yeah, if anyone can picture when you're driving along
it's towards Torquay though, all of them, right?
No. So they're around Geelong. And this is the thing is that everything I'm talking about is not strictly for Torquay. Yeah. Yes, I live here. Yes, I love this place so much. It's like, this is home. But I'm thinking about the kind of greater area.
And this is the thing, I guess, that, yes, a lot of people that live in Torquay work in Geelong. So it is our hospital's in Geelong.
Well, it's all intertwined.
It's all intertwined.
Where does everyone go to the beach on a hot summer's day from Geelong? Yeah. They do come down here, and that's fine. Like, I consider ourselves a pretty inclusive kind of community. But again, it's just planning.
Just maybe not Winky Pop.
Yeah. Certain beach breaks or certain breaks, my surf breaks, maybe not. Depending on how good your surfing skill is, as well.
That's exactly right.
But yeah, so we've got 65,000 people in Armstrong Creek. We've got 50,000 and 60,000 in North Geelong and West Geelong. So if you can imagine going along the Geelong bypass, I'm pretty sure where they're talking is the big quarry there. I think that like around that kind of area, they're looking at either 50 or 60,000 people there, and then another 50 or 60,000
in between the Bowden River and the freeway kind of.
Yeah. Okay. So around there somewhere, and again, don't quote me exactly. I kind of have a rough idea of where it is, and then another one out North Geelong, which could be around the Lara area. And I actually went to a Rotary meeting in Grovedale the other night, and I listened to the CEO of the Greater City of Geelong speak, and he said, it's great, all this growth is just, it's reinvigorating the whole area and all this stuff. And then I just kind of said, put my hand up, and I just said, well, where's everyone going to work? If we've got an estimated 174,000 new arrivals coming in the next 20 years, what are we doing? Well, again, what's the plan? Where are we, what is everyone doing? And his answer literally was, when the people come, businesses develop. And I was like, well,
it takes a long time for a business to become an employer.
That's for me. So that screams to me, let's make some money on rates and development, and we're not really looking after the well-being.
Maybe City of Geelong will employ them.
Well, that's what we're hoping. I don't know. Like, where are the, and then it goes, all right, well, then everyone's going to work in Melbourne. And then you're going, all right, well, how's that?
So then we're a commuter town.
So we're a commuter town, which is not beneficial to our local area. And it also, once again, and I keep going back to this, it's how's the social well-being for families? If you've got your parents, whether it's your mum or dad or whatever, driving every single day and they're driving for 2 hours in traffic, they leave at 6:30, they don't get back till 7 or 8.
I've done it, and it doesn't leave any energy for the weekend.
No, exactly. Let alone if you've got young kids, and then how does it affect the kids, And it kind of,
that's when you drink lots of wine and
then wine
and
is
the
amazing.
Next day to cover it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's a recipe for disconnect and really kind of it's a breakdown of our family kind of networks, and that's for me is just it's critical for our social well-being. Is that we need to have jobs in the area, right? So innovative jobs, innovative industry. Like, we need to kind of stop relying just on this construction thing. Yes, it's important, and yes, we can keep developing, but don't rely just on that. Why don't we start looking at innovative new industries? Why don't we have a state-of-the-art recycling plant in Geelong, in the Geelong area? That could be taking in the whole of the area's recycling plant. Why don't we have a massive industrial composting facility? We've got things like that, we've
reducing emissions and reducing the waste problem
and increasing jobs. Then we should be encouraging small businesses and startups. Maybe we should simplify all the red tape that goes on in different councils and kind of simplify our tax systems to encourage smaller businesses. So there's kind of all these different ways. I think we're moving into the 21st century, and we've got a whole new way of thinking. Everything around us has changed so much in the last 10 years, except for the system in place, which is directing how we do things.
Yep.
So on an individual, the private sector's leaps and bounds ahead, but the system which is putting in place all these policies and regulations is just so far behind. Yep. We have to start thinking into the 21st century. We have to start thinking about artificial intelligence, because it is coming. It's not an if, it's a when, and we can already see it with automated this and automated that, and that's also getting rid of jobs. So how are we training these people up who are losing their jobs to robots? How are we training them up in other areas? How's our education system going? We need to really start looking at bringing our whole community into the 21st century.
Yeah. There was another thing that I found quite interesting. It was launched last year. It was the Industrial Hemp Conference, which happened in Geelong.
Yep.
There's a lot of agricultural land which could be built out as the developers buy up farms and wait for them to be transitioned. And that's what's happening essentially in Spring Creek.
Yep.
They've bought farmland to wait until they can develop it.
Until they can cut it up and, sell it for their gain,
So there's other alternatives.
Yeah, so and Geelong, obviously talking about Geelong because that's the closest big city, cities
it's one of the fastest growing cities, isn't it? It's after Melbourne. So
Melbourne is the fastest kind of capital city in Australia, fastest growing, and then Geelong is the fastest regional city in Australia, and then I think, don't quote me, but I think the Surf Coast Shire is also up there with one of the fastest growing shires in Australia. So we've got this triple kind of effect happening down towards us.
And we've got employers leaving the area.
Exactly.
It's not the right equation.
No, and this is the scary thing. Well, it's scary, but it's also, it's an opportunity right now to make a stand right now and be like, okay, we've got things going wrong right now. Let's all work together, because look at Geelong. Geelong has some incredible people and some innovative thinkers and some very, very smart people, very compassionate people. We can bring those people together. That's all we need is we just need to link the dots, get everyone together and have a little bit more of a community-led direction so that we can kind of go, well, what's best for all of us? So getting back to the industrial hemp thing, it's funny because it's still it's almost a taboo word. It's like if you mention the word hemp, it's like, hippies.
Misunderstood.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, hemp is what helped colonise Australia. You know what I mean?
That's what the sails.
That's what the sails were made of. That's what the ropes were made of. We've been using it for thousands of years as a species, really. So it's something that's not new, and it's amazing the way And then you go, why did it not continue to get used? Because the cotton industry got in there and started bad-mouthing it, and
Connected it to cannabis.
And then all of a sudden it was tarnished, and okay, so we can't do that. But listen, that's in the past. What we're seeing now is, wow, there's so many different uses for hemp.
I have peanut butter with hemp seed in it now.
There you go.
How
So we
cool
can
is
use
that?
food source.
Yeah.
We can use it as textiles, which Geelong was a huge textile industry there for a long time.
Wool,
Wool and
and
all of that.
cotton
We've
as
got
well.
cotton on.
Yeah.
We've got. So we could use that. It can be used as hempcrete, which is a great building block for all the development that we're having around town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a really versatile thing, and it grows really fast.
What is it? 3 crops in 12 months? I've heard.
Yeah, something
like
about that.
And
Yeah.
it revitalizes the soil or something?
I'm not sure whether it revitalizes, but it can
a
definitely.
type of crop that brings the nutrients from lower down. I think that's.
Okay.
Don't quote
we've
me
been
on it.
learning
Maybe
yeah.
someone should Google that and we
let us know.
we can get our facts straight.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. By the way, if we fact check us on a couple of things, I guess. I'm trying my best, and I'm definitely not trying to mislead anyone, but yeah, there's a lot of information going through my head right now. The other great thing with hemp is that it takes really sandy soil. It's a weed essentially. It's kind of like this really easygoing thing that doesn't take optimum climate or pesticides. It's so easy to grow. So that's just another avenue. There's a lot of different ways that we can be there. The triple bottom line. We have economic prosperity, social well-being, and the environment, right? Those three need to work together in order for us to have a sustainable society. And together we can do that. And you know what? At the end of the day, the economic side of it is a vital part of our society. We do run off money, really. But the thing is that, and this is the ludicrous thing going back to renewable energy, it's a perfect example with the government. Haven't been able to set a robust policy on renewable energy, which means that we haven't had international investment, which means that we've fallen behind the 8 ball with our renewable energy, which in turn has led the federal government to say that, renewable energy isn't reliable enough, so we've got to keep going with fossil fuels. How ridiculous is that?
It's crazy.
When there is so much money to be made out of renewable energy. There is, and it's this thing where you go, we're hitting all three together. It's socially responsible, it's environmentally responsible, and it's economically prosperous. And that's the thing. I'm not a greenie who's just saying like, let's all go back to caveman days or anything like that. It's just going like, we can just restructure the way we're doing things and improve it for all of us.
Totally. Back to the garden. That's what I like to say.
Yeah.
No, it's absolutely true. And I think the opportunity seems ripe now. And tell me a couple of things that have been going on in this area particularly that seem to be pushing the right buttons, pulling levers, and where it all could come together to really have a big change.
Well, I would say
quite soon, really, yeah.
Myself getting involved in these different community groups, I can see that it's the people, the people power. I think people are fed up about the same old stories and the same old crap that the governments are kind of feeding us. That this is what we need, and we're starting to really see a lot of people that are upset, and they're starting to band together. And this is what we need to do. It needs to be a grassroots movement, and it needs to be. There's a quote that I keep going back to that when the people lead, the leaders will follow. And it's so true. I think that if we don't make any noise on, about being upset, then the government's just going, the politicians will just keep going business as usual. So I would say that the awareness from people and that kind of, again, that moral responsibility is really starting to snowball, and people are starting to realize that this is, it's no longer this long, far off fetch thing of, if the climate change is real, it's like, it's real. It's right there. It's happening. We're seeing it everywhere. Let's get it. And people are starting to go, all right, we do need to do something about it. So I would say that the people is what's really moving and shaking at the moment. And then obviously from that, we get technologies which are really improving as well, particularly in the private sector. Again, only in the private sector, really. Like, we've got Elon Musk, who came in South Australia and saved the day, where did he come from?
Isn't it a good time to buy shares? Now his shares dropped after he went on that interesting podcast.
Yeah.
He smoked a joint or something, and his shares
I'm going to make a guess. I haven't actually heard. Is that Joe Rogan? Did he go on there?
I think so.
It might have been Joe Rogan. That's another great podcast.
But that's the other thing as well, I think, is the shareholders and the companies, the big companies, they want to keep their money and they know that the money's not going to be in fossil fuels.
No,
they
exactly.
actually understand that.
And
they're trying to make the bucks now.
And that's where it goes again, back to the people power. It's where you can, where you choose to buy does affect those companies. Who you choose to have your insurance with, or who you choose to bank with, or who you choose to have your, what do you call it? The superannuation, all of that. It does affect those companies, so it really is. And the other thing that I think is a big change is exactly what we're doing right now. A podcast that was unheard of. So we've got social media, which has really raised the awareness. Yes, there's a lot of noise, and no, I don't want to see your cat coming in and out of the box.
Oh no, cat in a box.
A cat in a box, yep, cool. It's a cat with a box. Like, I've done it before, seen it before, don't
I
really.
I haven't seen it, but I'm.
Oh, neither have I. Actually, I steer well clear of that, but I have seen a cat in a box before, and I can tell you what it looks like. It looks like a cat in a box.
Right.
Yes, social media has linked people all around the world who are like-minded. Once again, for better or worse, because there's certain different groups that are getting linked together, which kind of give them a bit more power, which we kind of don't want, the alt-right and kind of all of that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, it's been beneficial, I think, in a lot of ways to connect people with the information. And there's a lot of things that I've been doing, working on different campaigns and stuff, where I can actually jump on and you just Google something, boom, and then you get ideas, and you can work in with that, and then you can connect with someone on the other side of the world and be like, oh, I see you've done this. How do you do it? I think that technology, while it can be used in a negative way, and there are definitely a lot of negative kind of side effects of social media, it can also, if you use it correctly as a tool, it can be very educational and very useful.
That is my favourite thing about it, is the activism that you can get into with social media, the reach that you can have, and it's kind of the balance of the corporation paying for their advertising, and you can pay for your message to get out there as well. This is not fake news, people. Damien Cole is running as an independent for the South Bowden seat.
Yeah, if you do get my message out, but I must make one point with that, though, is again, you got to watch the way that you use it as a tool, because it shouldn't be used as a substitute for activism. I think clicking, whilst it's good, doesn't have the same effect as having 3,000 or 4,000 people down at Bell's crying out, no, we don't want this. If you send that to a politician, like, you don't get that on national media. You know what I mean? Oh, well, we had 4,000 likes, on against the oil. No. We need people down there, And that goes for absolutely any type of activism. You still have to go back to that authentic thing. So you're 100% right that it's great for activism. But what it should be is used as a tool to get everyone together and to raise awareness. But I still think that there's such a huge place for that real person thing. So, it's the same as like a handwritten letter. Instead of, if you handwrite a letter, it's a lot more effective than just going, oh, I'll like, or I'll get a generic one or whatever, you know what I mean? Or if you deliver that in person and you go, here you go, this is what I think. So but it's a tool. That's what I keep going back to, is that social media is a tool, and it can be a very, very effective tool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we've been chatting for quite a while now. It's an hour, so time flew by.
It did. I do have a tendency to kind of keep talking, so we could be here for hours.
Imagine if it was the other way. I'd be trying to probe you. So tell me more about that.
No.
Not like that at all.
No way.
To be fair, that probably wouldn't make the podcast cut, would it?
No.
But look, this has been great having you on the show. You've been listening to Climactic. This is the first episode coming at you from Torquay, and I'm looking forward to hosting a couple more with some other people around this area. And definitely the message from this I get is to be active in your community, be active, go out and talk to your local members, speak to people about what they want from their politicians. And if there's nothing there that seems good enough, put your hand up.
That's it. Yeah, well, that's it. Absolutely. And that does it. That is one of the big parts of what this campaign is one aspect of what's going on in my life right now. And I don't think the win or lose thing is not just the end goal for me. I kind of go back to, if I can inspire one person from another electorate to stand up and go, oh, you know what, this normal guy seems like, oh, wow, if he can do it. And that's what I'm trying to inspire, is the fact that anyone can do it. As long as you're passionate and you've got the right values, that's what we need back into politics. If we got to have that, if you're genuine about helping out your community, then stand up and make your voice heard. That's what I'm doing. And I do not for a second pretend to have all the answers. I've had a couple of people come to me like, well, what's your policy on this? And what's your policy on that? And education and I'm like, whoa, all right, I'm an independent. I'm still trying to work and put a roof over my head and air. Like, I'll look into it, but I don't have the answers to everything. And nor should I. One person should never have the answers. It should be all of us together. And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm kind of establishing this kind of community where it's like, all right, let's get together and figure this out together. We need to figure out these issues from a community level. So yeah, and that goes again, as I say, reiterate, if anyone out there is even thought about doing this, give me a yell. I'm more than happy. I'll give you I can probably give my number out now. I'm more than happy to do that.
It's up to you.
So if you want to, 0422 576 527. Give me a call, give me a message. I'm an open book.
He also takes handwritten letters.
And I will put you at the top of the list if you handwrite me a letter rather than Facebook. But I'm not giving out my home address. That's the one thing I'm not giving out.
That's totally fair.
So
I know where he lives, so if anyone wants to know.
It'll cost you.
It's been great having you on the show, Damo.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
It's been awesome. I've had a really good time. So
great one.
All right. Thanks heaps, everyone.
And that was Damien Cole, independent candidate for the South Barwon seat. There's a lot more information about Damien on our website, and be sure to check out all the great events he's running leading up to the election if you find yourself around the South Barwon area. We'd like to thank you so much for listening on behalf of Maxine, and if you enjoy this kind of content in the lead up to the Victorian state election, be sure to check out our mini-series we're making in collaboration with Act on Climate. And finally, a bit of a favor to ask you all. Up until now, we've done absolutely zero advertising or marketing of the podcast. So where we got to now is all the results of word of mouth. So if you're enjoying it and would like to see Climactic grow into the network we'd like it to be, it would really help us out if you'd let a friend or family member know about the show, let a local environment group know that we exist and we're really keen to help them tell their story. And if you know anyone who'd make a great interviewer, we'd love to hear about them as well. I've heard recently from some listeners that they're not sure how to take Climactic with them on the road. Well, if you've got an iPhone, you've got an app already on your phone called Podcasts. And if you don't, it's free to download. Just search for Climactic there and you can download the episodes to take with you wherever you are. If you're on Android, you've got Google Podcasts, also a free app. Just search for Climactic and you're good to go. Or if you're a Spotify user, you can find Climactic there as well. Thank you all so much for listening. And on behalf of myself, Rich, and Maxine, we hope you have a great week. And now for some quick credits. We'd like to thank producer Caleb Fidecaro, designer Abigail Hawkins, composer Greg Grossi, senior advisor Gretchen Miller, and especially this week, our special guest Damien Cole. You'll find links to all those fine people in the show notes. We hope you have a great week and are staying well in these climactic times.
The Climactic Collective.